Hi guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we're going to have a great episode with Cody Nelson, the manager owner at the Outdoorsmans, and we're going to be talking about tripod heads and binocular mounting accessories and actually all the accessories that go along with mounting optics to a tripod. And I think it's going to be a great episode that will be in conjunction with the last episode that we did on the actual tripods. I've got a lot of great feedback. I want to thank Cody for coming on. Before we get to that, I want to remind you guys that GoHunt.com Insider is the title sponsor of this podcast, and the Filtering 2.0 program with GoHunt.com Insider is amazing. You can go on there for the Western states and search harvest statistics and draw odds, and you can filter down through animal specific, through unit specific, through harvest, success ratios and draw odds and all sorts of things, trophy quality. It's an incredible tool. If you're not already a Go Hunt Insider member, you can go to gohunt.com/insider, click on the blue Join Now button, and use the J. Scott promo code when you sign up. You'll be prompted, use the J. Scott promo code. You automatically get a $50 KUIU gift card. It is the best resource that any Western hunter can give themselves. So go over and check it out, gohunt.com/insider. I want to thank Lorenzo and his team for putting together such an incredible resource over there. You can also go on gohunt.com, and they have an incredible news feed of everything going on in the hunting world. I want to remind the existing Go Hunt Insider members that this month of August is the drawing for 10 KUIU sleeping bags, and you're able to pick the temperature range of your choice. And if you're not a member, it's a great opportunity to go over there, sign up for the Insider. You'll still be available, open to be in the drawing for this month of August. And in the next episode, I'm going to be announcing what the Go Hunt Insider giveaway is for the month of September. And it's going to be a good one. So, guys, I want to thank you for all the support that you give me here at this podcast. I want to also encourage you, if you'd like to send me an email, you can at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com. You can also go check out my website, my new website, jscottoutdoors.com. From there, you can link to all my social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And we're staring a great fall 2016 season in the face. It's just begun, and I just want to thank you guys for all your support. Let's get right to this episode with Cody Nelson. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we have Cody Nelson from the Outdoorsmans in Phoenix. Cody, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, bud. Glad to be here.
Yeah,
glad to be here.
Sounds like the phones have just been ringing off the hook, and you guys have been just having an unbelievable sales the last couple months with all the hunters getting into the swing of things and getting stuff ordered for their hunts coming up.
Yeah, Jay, it's it has been one of the busiest years that we've ever had, without a doubt. Our Outdoorsman's gear and optics are absolutely flying off the shelf.
That's awesome, Cody. In our last episode, number 179, we talked about glassing with a tripod and the importance of a tripod. And today I wanted to cover tripod accessories because I think every bit as important as a tripod, I think the accessories and the heads that you use, I mean, you can have the most sturdy legs and most sturdy tripod, but if you don't have a great head, you're basically defeating the purpose of using a tripod. So
Correct.
Today I wanted to talk about all the accessories, the panheads, the pistol grip heads, all the different adapter plates, the Outdoorsman's Bino adapter, and all the things that you guys have to offer there at the Outdoorsmans. The first question I would ask you, though, is why is the head every bit as important as the legs?
Well, Jay, I think, well, it's the most, in my opinion, it's the most misused piece of gear, or people just don't apply it correctly most of the time, and here's why. They run different optics, and what I mean by that is people run, somebody might run just an 8-power pair of binoculars or a 10-power, and they might have a spotting scope that's of lighter weight, and that's fine when you use a lighter weight, tripod head, to manage the, your viewing through those. What happens is the biggest mistake that I see made is that people want to go so lightweight with their tripods that in the long run, what they're actually doing is making the head, it's basically putting too much weight on it to where, you can't hold the tripod or the optic steady. And so I think that there needs to be a real balance between what a guy's, the optics he's using and between what head he chooses, because now you can always go bigger and use a heavier head, but I think that I think people try to go so lightweight all the time that they really miss, what they're trying to accomplish. And
well, in other words, not to interrupt you here, but in other words, they're sacrificing stability to go so lightweight that then the platform that they're actually using, the tripod and the head, the optics are too heavy for that lightweight system, and they end up getting vibration. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely correct.
And then once you get vibration, you don't have as clear a view when your binos are bouncing all over the place, and you've got that slight vibration. You're not picking up those details, what those optics are made for.
Yeah, and Jay, it's not just the vibration issue, but if you don't have the weight to hold the tripod or the actual head, so when you put it in the panning mode or you put it in the tilt mode, if your optic is way overmatched for the size of the optic or the size of that head, it can create for a situation where your hand has to steady, the tripod versus, the head versus the optic, the head holding the weight. So
yeah. We've all been glassing, and the tilt or the pan is too loose, or the bino is too heavy, or the spotting scope's too heavy, and you're looking at a slight downhill or a slight uphill, and the optic tends to put too much weight on it, and it ends up moving out of your field of view. So you're
Correct.
Looking at something, and it keeps sliding either left or right or up or down.
Yep, that's absolutely right. So, when you're trying to get things done that way and keep smooth, ultimately what you're trying to do is you're trying to have a head that can fairly easily control the weight of the optic. And and I'm going to give you an example. Our new micro Panhead. It is an absolute wonderful piece of gear. It was created to be a better ball head, if you will, and it was made so that it's a 7-ounce head, and it was made to control and give a lot more control, than a ball head would be, but it's got its limitations. I have put a 95 STX, and for anybody that doesn't know what that is, it's pretty much the largest spotting scope that's available on the market today, and it's pretty heavy. I don't recommend our micro, with that particular optic, because I would rather somebody go with one of our Panheads or go with like a Manfrotto 500, or because when you go to loosen that front handle on a super heavy optic like that, your hand now becomes the steadying factor. And we all know that our hands aren't as steady as the machinery that we're using. So
for sure,
I think it just goes to show you that I think you got to match your head with the optics. Now, our micro, if you put a set of 15s or you put a 65 millimeter spotting scope on it, or a set of 8s or 10s or 12s, it's perfect. But as soon as you jump up into those, it's like you're never going to put a set of Koas on a micro head. It's just not going to work.
Right, that makes sense. Let's back up just for a second here and tell me what the different types of tripod heads are. I heard you say something about a ball head. Explain to me what the different heads are and the actual mechanics of what you're saying. You're calling one a ball head, and I would assume another one is a panhead. For those that don't know that are listening, can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. A ball head is pretty simple. A ball head it's basically the ball is it sits in a socket, and it has a stem that comes out of the top, and on that stem is a plate, and that's where your optic connects to. And on the side of that is a single switch or lever that when you loosen that, it controls that ball head, okay? But there's no handle, there's no handle to give you leverage or give you any sort of a fulcrum point. There's no way to control that other than to have your hand steadying the tripod or the ball head. There are some ball heads that are of better manufacturers that will actually have a panning mode in it, and those are obviously better than just a plain ball head. But it all comes back to most of them are fairly heavy, and when when they're heavier, they give you a little bit more control. But when you make them lighter, it really, you lose the control in the head almost totally, to where you're 100% dependent on your hands. So the reason guys use them is because they're very compact and they take up a little bit of just very little space in your pack. So and a lot of tripod manufacturers, it's quite frankly it's the option that the tripod will come with. So that's a ball head. Then you have a pistol grip. And a pistol grip has a ball socket in it as well, but only the pistol grip sits on top of the ball, and it has a handle of which, when you squeeze that handle, much like a trigger or like a joystick, when you squeeze that, it will allow you to move and freely move your glassing platform around that ball head and stop it or start it wherever you want it as soon as you release the trigger. It'll lock.
So in other words, when you squeeze, it's freewheeling. When you let go, it stops wherever you have it. So in other words, you can kind of use it like a gyro almost. You're looking like a joystick, and then once even if you're looking down or up or to the side, you let up the pressure. It stops, and whatever you're looking at is right in your field of view. And then you want to squeeze and start panning around again. And
correct.
Then you see something, you can stop.
Yep, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, so that's the pistol grip, and then obviously then we have the panhead.
Yeah, you have panhead style heads that, and you'll hear the words fluid head and panhead, and what that basically means is this. Is that you can, for the optic that you have on that particular head, whether it's a video camera, whether it's a spotting scope, binocular, whatever, you can basically, what I like to term is, you can set the tension, and I call that feathering the weight in, but you can feather that tension so that it holds your weight in either the panning mode or the tilt mode, and you can basically freely move. With the handle, you can move the optic in whatever direction you want, and even if you're at an angle up and you move it all the way to the left and you stop, it typically, if you've got it set correctly, it'll hold the weight of that optic.
Okay, and you said a word there. You said fluid, and the question I would have is, why is being fluid important?
Well, because when you are the issue would be is that when you are making transitions from one field of view to another, if your glass is shaky, there is the chance that you might miss, a deer, elk, whatever little sign that would tip you off as to something moving or not moving, or a flick of an ear, something that would cause your eyes to not focus and not catch whatever was in that field of view or on the edge of the field of view. So the smoother the transition, the less your eyes have to focus and refocus and readjust. And
Gotcha.
Which ultimately should mean finding more game more efficiently.
Makes total sense. And then Cody, let's also back up here for a second. So you've got your tripod legs,
Mm-hmm.
You've got your heads, and we've talked about pistol grip, a ball head, and the panheads.
Right.
Okay, and some of the tripod heads have a pistol grip where you squeeze. Some of them don't have you basically just use your hand to move it on a ball joint, or they have a certain arm either in the front or the back that you manipulate to pan either left, right, or you use your tilt up and down. Is that correct?
Absolutely correct.
Okay, but one of the things that I think gets lost also is adapting either your binocular or your spotting scope actually to those heads.
Correct.
And one of the things that I think you guys have done so well at the Outdoorsmans is creating all these different adapter plates and threaded studs and binocular adapters and such. Tell me a little bit about how that came about.
Well, it came about because a lot of the, if you look back, and Jay, this kind of goes back to the days, I used to see pictures of guys, and I even tried it myself, 25, years ago. I mean, I was trying to put binoculars on a tripod, with a piece of one by and surgical tubing. And it's because, we didn't have the internet. You couldn't just get on the internet and go look and find out certain things. So, we just didn't have that stuff out there. And I wasn't a machinist, and so it's not like you had the ability just to go, make parts like that. Well, first you started to see a few of the European makers make, they would have like a clamp with a post on it. And it was, some of the designs were almost archaic in their design. But, who knew how big this was going to be too? And you had a few of the optics companies that would put 1/4-20 threads in the front of their, their binocular on that front hinge. And, it really was, there was some people out there that were trying to figure out how to make it all work. And I know that, when Floyd, kind of had the aha moment, and, he took it up to our partners up there in Payson and basically was like, hey, we need to make a way for this to be universal so that we can adapt this to many different binoculars, not just one. Well, now, pretty much across the board, you can almost take just about any optic, and you'll see that 1/4-20 screw in the front. Now, some won't, but I think that's the beauty of it is that where we used to not have any that had 1/4-20 screws, most binoculars nowadays come with a 1/4-20, thread in the front of it. And so what we've done is that we have basically made several different studs and sizes to fit a lot of different optics out there. And what it's allowed us to do then is to have a bino adapter that you can clip that stud into, and it literally gives you a dual locking mechanism for not just to have your binoculars steady, but also so that your binoculars don't fall off or come undone, because that was a problem in the past too. So
for sure. Let's take a quick break here. PhoneScope is a company that makes custom-molded, precisely engineered smartphone digiscoping adapters. Photographing wildlife has never been easier. It is simple to text photos and videos from your smartphone and share them with your friends. PhoneScope stands behind their product with a 100% money-back guarantee. Get yours now by using the JScott16 promo code and receive 10% discount on all purchases. Check them out at PhoneScope. That's PhoneSkope.com, or on Instagram at PhoneScope. I have known the owners of the Outdoorsmans in Phoenix for over 20 years. They are the authority on optics and hunting gear. Outdoorsmans is the leading designer and manufacturer of high-quality tripods, mounting accessories, and pack systems for all hunters. Their customer service is the best in the business. Go to outdoorsmans.com or call 1-800-291-8065 and use the J. Scott promo code to receive 10% off any products. Okay, Cody, so you have your binocular, and most binoculars come with the 1/4-20 screw in the front, right? Actually,
yes,
not
sir.
A screw, but it's a female part.
Yeah, it's a female thread.
Female thread.
Okay,
and so most all binoculars can be adapted to into the Outdoorsman's Bino adapter, and then therefore onto a tripod head. There's very few optics that can't be mounted on a tripod, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and so with this 1/4-20 female thread, you guys then have a stud that you then screw into there. Walk me through that process.
What we've taken is we've taken a stud, and behind the stud is a flange with a set screw in it, and I'll explain that here in just a second. And then on the back end of that flange, there is a 1/4-20 stud that threads into the binocular hinge. Okay, so what you'll do is that we've got an Allen tightening mechanism at the tip of the stud, and you'll screw that tight. And then we have a set screw that once you've got that tight, then when you hit the set screw and make sure that that's tight, you virtually have a system that basically won't allow it to fall off. Now, I'm not going to tell you that we've never had that happen before, but what I always tell people is, please tighten the screws. You can even use like a blue Loctite. Do not use red or green or anything that's a more permanent style Loctite, and certainly don't use JB Weld. We've had that before. But yeah, use a blue Loctite, or I've even used just a dab of clear nail polish, and that will help keep everything in check. But it is a system that allows for such quick and easy access for you to take your binoculars on and off. And we can do that with a huge variety of different binoculars. Literally Pentax, Nikon, Bushnell. Anybody that's got that 1/4-20, we can do. Burris, Brunton, Maven. Any of the stuff out there, we can put our stud into.
And of course, Swarovski and Leica.
And we've even got some special stuff for those guys, because there are a few companies out there that have, over the years, have not followed suit with everybody else, and they've made it a little bit more difficult to mount binoculars. So we had to get a little more creative to do that. One of them being the EL, Swarovski ELs. We actually we have a stud that's for that specifically, and we actually put those binoculars in a jig, and we basically keep the factory columnization, and we install that stud. We put everything back to factory specs. Once that's completed, you have a binocular mount for the EL studs, and we do have to have those in-house. The process takes about 7 to 10 days. We're very careful with the optics. We've never had any issues with it,
just to be clear, that Outdoorsman's Bino adapter for the ELs, it's a little bit longer because of the wings on the bottom of the EL range.
Well, we have two sizes of adapters, and maybe we should just talk about the adapters now, because once you have the stud mounted, we have two adapters. We have a short adapter that's about 2 3/4 inches tall, and we have a tall adapter. And the reason that we came out with the tall adapter is that the EL ranges, they have those two smaller humps on the bottom of each tube, and we had to create room to clear the tripod head in order for those to be mounted up. So, but it also does a couple other things. If your eyes are super, super close together and you have to squeeze your binoculars down, and your binoculars end up hitting your controls or your loosening, to take your plates on and off or slip your binoculars on and off, we've actually created, another 3/4 of an inch, to help you clear any knobs or any, levers or anything like that. And then also, occasionally we get a guy that, he's about 6'2", 6'3", and he's looking for just another inch of height, and he just wants to be able to stand normally without scrunching over. And so we've actually helped guys with, with that tall Bino adapter with that. So the Bino adapters all have a 1/4-20 screw on the bottom of them, so that even if you're not using our beaver tail that slides in and out of our tripod heads, you can slide, or you can screw in, some people call them plates, some people call them foots, some people call them adapter plates. Whatever tripod head you're using, it will almost I've never really had a situation where it wouldn't, but all of them will screw into the bottom of our Bino adapter, and then now you have a system where you can mount pretty much any binocular and or spotting scope to a tripod head.
Okay, and so just to be clear, anybody that's out there listening, if they have a pair of binoculars that has the 1/4-20 female thread,
mm-hmm.
you can adapt them to pretty much any tripod head and any tripod leg on the market. In other words, they don't have to necessarily own the Outdoorsman's tripod for the Outdoorsman's Bino adapter to work. You
Correct.
Can pretty much take anybody with any optic and
Yep.
mount that optic on a tripod. So I just want to be clear, because some people have a Bogan Manfrotto or a Manfrotto tripod, and they think that the Outdoorsman's Bino adapter does not work. Well, the simple fix is just a plate that screws right onto the bottom of the Outdoorsman's Bino adapter, and they're off and running.
Correct.
But one thing that needs to be clear in my mind, the Outdoorsman's Bino adapter, in my mind, is one of the most unbelievable inventions, because of the fact that if you ever carry your tripod over your shoulder and you are just moving 30 yards up the hill and you want to leave your binoculars on the tripod and you just kind of hoist them, or you're carrying them, like a football, the thing that's so unbelievable to me about the Outdoorsman's Bino adapter, and I've used it for years, is the double locking mechanism.
That's correct.
You basically have a screw at the top that you can correct my terminology, but you screw it to tighten it, but then you also have to unscrew it and then push it down, and it has a flange that makes it a double locking system. Because, when Swarovski first came out with the 1/4-20 thread, and they had the Swarovski adapter, all it was a lever.
Well,
and if that
right.
lever came loose, I don't know how many people and how many binoculars you had to repair because the lever came loose, right, and just flung off.
Jay, the number of repairs and the number of replaced binoculars, and I mean people have actually walked off the mountain with their tripod slung over their shoulder, and with the different mounts that are out there, in my 6 years now at the Outdoorsmans, I have helped people replace at least a dozen pair of binoculars. I'm not talking repair binoculars. I'm saying replaced them because they couldn't find them. They literally walked out in the middle of the night, and their binoculars are nowhere to be found.
So in other words, they're carrying them over their shoulder, the lever flips open, they don't hear them hit the ground, and they can never find them again because they've walked all over Timbuktu, and they're gone.
Yep.
You're not talking about the guy that the lever flipped open and it broke the glass, and they had to send him back for repair.
Mm-hmm. I'm talking about actually, like, get back to the truck, unpack your pack when you get home, and go, where are my binoculars? That's happened at least a dozen times.
That's never a good feeling, I can imagine.
Well, I think it should be said too, Jay, when people are walking around and doing those little moves. I mean, there are people that think, oh, well, I just want to put my binocular on there and walk for, miles upon miles, or people. I've even had people, and Jay, that I know you'll find this hard to believe, but I've actually had people put their binoculars on their tripod and strap the tripod to the back of a quad. And their binoculars back there just, and look, guys, I mean, this is just real simple. Our products are as well made as you can make them. But that just defies, that's just common sense. If you put a $2,000 pair of binoculars hanging off the back of a quad, I don't care how you strap it down. I mean, our parts are really strong and good, but it's back there just vibrating for miles upon miles upon miles. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure out what's going to happen to all those parts if they're given a chance to move at all. And
yeah.
we've done it. We've had guys come in and say this is what happened, and we've had to we don't replace them for it, but we've helped them replace binoculars because of crazy situations like that. So I would just tell people, you know what, if you're not using your binocular, put the binocular in a pack or in a pocket or on your chest, or it's just safer that way.
Yeah, for sure. Let's take another quick break here. Reel game calls featuring the elk reel. Reel Game Calls makes innovative, realistic, and easy-to-master calls using their proprietary, revolutionary design. They are located and manufactured in Gypsum, Colorado. Their calls were designed and battle-tested on some of the hardest hunted terrain on Earth. Check out elkreel.com. Use the promo code JScott and receive a 20% discount on all purchases. Go to www.elkreel.com. Okay, Cody, every day of the week you get a pair of binoculars that someone brings in to you and wants you to put your stud in and get them all set up to be mounted on a tripod, correct? So in other words, yes, you do it for everyone that comes in, and you can actually help them in-house when they buy a pair of binoculars. But you can also take binoculars that someone already has and get them all set up.
Yeah,
and how many of those, every day are you sending off binoculars to get the studs installed?
Jay, not just the EL stud installs, but we're now, we've made it now so that we can do Zeiss Victory SFs, and we can all do we can do the Victory HTs as well. And then, people walking in off the street, people calling from all across the country, and quite frankly, we're starting to get, Australia, New Zealand. It's actually grown way faster and farther than I thought. But yes, we get calls on a daily basis of people that they either want to buy the optics and have us set them up for a tripod, or they're walking in off the street and they've never done this before and they want us to set their binos up. It doesn't matter whether you buy our tripods. We have an entire system that is meant to work with our Weaver style, or beaver tail style, quick release. We have a whole system that's meant for ours, but we've also made the system adaptable to any other manufacturer or tripod or head or anything out there, for a simple ease of to make it easy for guys to use.
Right.
That's the whole purpose of this, is that we wanted to create the most versatile tripod system in the world, and
Right.
not just have it be made out of, when you start dealing with plastics and different stuff, all of our stuff is machined aluminum. So it's built to last, number one. It's built to be maintained, and it's built to operate under extreme conditions. And our stuff has been doing that it's been doing it for 15 or 20 years now.
I've said this before when I've had you on the podcast. For those people out there that are hunting and using a tripod, if they're not using the Outdoorsman's Bino adapter, it's one thing I can truly say on this podcast without a shadow of a doubt that I think someone's making a mistake. I mean, they're absolutely out of their mind to not be using the Outdoorsman's Bino adapter. It is by far, there is not another product that's even close to it. And I see on TV, I don't watch outdoor television that much, but it seems like every time I turn it on, there's some hunting celebrity on TV that's not using it, and I just shake my head. And honestly, I think it's because maybe they don't know about it. I can't imagine anybody that glasses through through binocular and uses a tripod that doesn't use you guys' adaptation system.
Well, Jay, it all comes back to that, the conversation that we've been having now a couple times now, is that people are not used to putting binoculars on a tripod. And they're so used to saying, "Oh, I've got a tripod, I've got a spotting scope, and that's how I do it." And it all comes full circle back, is that if you will allow yourself to glass with a tripod, with your binoculars, with a good solid head, you will find more game. Period. End of story. No questions asked. I'm not saying guys aren't successful other ways. I'm just saying that you will be more successful at finding game than you ever have been if you'll put your gear on a tripod. Period. It's just that simple. And the fact, we've tried to create a system that makes it super, super easy. There are some binoculars out there that because of the dimensions of the tubes and the way that they have their studs put on, there is a few pieces out there that we have difficulty, but there are other options out there, and we will help you or direct you to those options. If we can't help you, we will certainly help you get the product that will help.
In other words, you haven't seen much that you can't overcome and can't get a guy adapted and on a tripod.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the deal. There's, like the one that comes to mind right now, and it's just simply a dimension thing. The Vortex Diamondbacks, the 1250s, because of the size of the tube coming off the main body, and what they've done is instead of making the threads internal, they've actually added an adapter that makes it protrude farther out. And because of that pocket, it won't allow our Bino adapter to fit. So that's one of, that's only one binocular out of all the different manufacturers out there that we have trouble mounting. But it doesn't mean that we can't put them, on a Leica Stabilite or the Swarovski, rubber band, their plate with a rubber band that comes over the top. There are lots of ways to mount stuff. So we'll help anybody get mounted up, but it's just in that particular case, it's one of a few binoculars that we have trouble mounting up, but almost everything else we can do pretty easily.
Absolutely. I want to encourage the listeners to go to outdoorsmans.com, go to the tripods. There, you'll see at the top says tripods, and then there's a drop-down menu, and you can go to Outdoorsman's tripods. You can go to tripods, heads, and accessories, and it shows every single thing that we've been talking about on this podcast. You can order anything right there, and then it also has the Bogan and Manfrotto tripods, all the different tripods that Cody carries there at the Outdoorsmans. And of course, remember that 10% discount you get by using the J. Scott promo code either through the website or when you call the guys at the Outdoorsmans. Cody, your 1-800 number is 800-291-8065. I've been hearing the phone ring during this interview, and I know when I'm down there, it's just the phone is constantly ringing. I do want to talk about you guys have an ultimate gear giveaway going on right now, and you basically have 3 packages, and guys can go to find out about the package. I'm going to go over them now, but you can go on Instagram, find the guys, the Outdoorsmans. It's just at Outdoorsmans. Or on Facebook, Outdoorsmans, and it's the ultimate gear giveaway. The package number 1 is a Swarovski X5 rifle scope of your choice with custom ballistic turret. That's one of the 3 amazing packages. Cody, talk a little bit about the X5 and how popular that scope has been.
Oh, the X5 has really taken off. It is Swarovski's introduction into the long-range hunting scope. It really, quite frankly, is a bulletproof. It's a little bit heavier. It's a bigger scope. It's basically a 6 or 7 year project in the making. I've actually shot the scope and compared it to all the other long-range scopes that are similar to it. The glass is absolutely phenomenal. I think you'll find that the glass is better than a lot of the other competitors. It is built like a tank, although it's not heavier than a lot of the competitors. It's actually, in most cases, a few ounces lighter. You have an absolute unbelievable amount of elevation and windage travel. Which makes it very it makes it excellent for truly long range shooters. You've got a couple different power ranges, and I can't say enough about the scope. It's really taken off. You have the option to build custom turrets for it. You can shoot MOA. Or you can, have a specific turret built with your ballistics and, specific yardages. I can't really say enough about the X5 because it's kind of taken the market by storm, and it's done really, really good numbers, and the performance out of it has been nothing short of awesome.
So you guys, the 3-package giveaway, there's 3 packages. You're going to, October 15th is the deadline that you have to register by. You're going to give away, that's package number 1. Package number 2 is a new long-range pack with accessory pod, bino harness, glassing pad, and rain cover. Talk a little bit about that new long-range pack.
Yeah, Jay, the new long-range pack, it was, we basically wanted to create 3 different things here. One is that this differs from all of our other packs, is that this pack allows itself to be disconnected from the frame while still having compression straps so that you can run a load between the frame and between the pack. So, without getting rid of any of your other gear, we created quicker access to your tripod, and we created quicker access to an optics pocket that is specific on top that basically was specifically matched for up to a. It'll fit the largest of the 15 power binoculars, which is the Zeiss Conquest HD. But the Swarovskis will fit in there, the Minox, the Vortex Kaibabs, the 20s or the 15s will fit in there. So it's been wildly successful. We are very pleased with the results, and the sales have just been fantastic. So I can't say enough about that. The harness and the belt and all of those things are the same that we've been running, and they're super adjustable, super comfortable, and I can't say enough about it because we've been selling them by the truckload, and to the point where I've had to up my orders again. So I think I'm driving my my sew house a little crazy because they're kind of wondering what we're doing down here to get all this business going. So
that's awesome. And then the third package is an Outdoorsman's tripod, adapters, and a head of your choice. So basically, what we've just been talking about, the tripod legs. You get to pick which Outdoorsman's tripod you want, which adapter you want, and which head you want.
Correct.
And you can go to outdoorsmans.com to see the different examples there. But in order to register, you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, find the Outdoorsmans, follow the link there on their social media sites. I'm also going to have a link in the show notes of this episode, and it's just an awesome way to win some gear. And I've already heard a lot of the buzz about how successful this gear giveaway has been, and there's people really signing up and wanting to win this gear.
Yeah, Jay, I mean, we've had a lot of people respond to it, and quite frankly, it's we've never done a lot of this, and this is kind of our way of saying thanks to our customers and our way of essentially wanting to give back to our customers because we're building a customer base, and it's just one of those ways that people say, God, maybe a guy doesn't have a chance to buy an X5, or maybe he's wanted to upgrade to an X5, no matter how you shake it out, I think it's good for our return customers, and it's good to build new customers, and we're just we're really trying hard to service the people who support us.
That's awesome, buddy. Well, like I said, guys, you can go on the Outdoorsman's Facebook page or the Outdoorsman's Instagram account and register. It's a free giveaway, so there's 3 packages, and hopefully one of the J. Scott Outdoors listeners. It'd be cool if J. Scott Outdoors listeners won all 3. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool. So, Jay, I want to go back on to one thing just so we kind of we make sure that our listeners understand and our customers. When you get on the website, you can go through the tripods and go through the accessories, and I will be the first one to tell you that there's a lot of parts out there, and I mean we manufacture. I mean we literally manufacture over 50 different parts, and it can get confusing, and people, they start pressing buttons and order the wrong stuff, and I would just urge people that if you have any questions about how to build your glassing platform, call us. That's what we're here for. You can talk to anybody in our building, and they will be able to assist you in building the best tripod and glassing platform for your given situation and system. And so I always want to make it clear that, if you already have a tripod and you want one of our heads, we can do that. If you have a full tripod and even if you don't have one of our heads and you want to run our beaver tail quick disconnect system, we have a quick release adapter that will fit on top of your tripod head and screw onto one of your plates, that if you want to run our adapters, or our bino adapters, or our quarter 20 plates for spotting scopes, you can do that. And one of the things that we haven't touched on that I like about our gear, and especially, when you're packed away from the truck and you're lightweight. And one of the things, Jay, that I know we've done together and we've seen it and you watched it, is when you're glassing through a tripod or glassing through a binocular and you spot something. The idea is that our stuff is so well made. And if my tripod is locked down, I can remove my binoculars off the quick release. And I can take my spotting scope and slide the quick release plate into the head. And I virtually should be looking. It won't be the exact field of view because you got differences in powers and field of views for the optics. But you should basically be looking at the object that you took your binocular off of. And so all of this gear, all of these parts, everything was made with the intentions of making it easier and more efficient to find game, and when game is found, how to keep it, in your field of view.
And be able to evaluate it
and
properly.
To evaluate it, or regardless of what your quarry is, and regardless of what your intentions are, whether you're a trophy hunter or whether you're just trying to make sure that's a buck, it doesn't matter. And it wouldn't matter if you're a birder just trying to identify one of your I don't know what they call that list, but if you're just trying to identify a wing or a color or whether it's a juvenile versus not, it doesn't matter. Our gear was created with the efficiency and the precision in mind that you could do it, quickly and without losing sight of the game. That's the whole reason behind all this stuff. And if anybody knows me,
point, Cody.
The passion that I just love, and Jay, I've said this to you many times in the field. It's not about killing for me, but I love with a passion finding game with binoculars. It's therapeutic. It's quiet. It's peaceful. I'm closer, to the good Lord and everything that was made out there. I'm just telling you, it's kind of my happy place, and people make fun of that and laugh at that. But, I love going out and doing that, and I love doing it really well. And so, and what the cool part is we get to make all this cool gear and sell it and have fun with it and corroborate with our customers and collaborate. And we get to, we get guys that come in and go, hey, what do you guys think about doing this? Or it's anything that we can do to help the people out there find more game. That, to me, that's what it's about. Killing's one thing, but finding stuff and actually, putting people on it or helping people, or, it's just, it's no different than the first time I took my son glassing and the first deer he found on his own. I get that feeling every time I find stuff.
Yeah, I know. I can attest to that. Having glassed with you a lot and hunted with you a lot, it's definitely, you bring up a good point. And one thing I wanted to add there, a little tip, it's so important to be able to glass something up with your binoculars and be able to take your binoculars off and put your spotting scope on and be able to find that animal very, very quickly. I guide people all the time that don't have these efficient adapter systems, and they don't have their binos and their spotting scopes lined up so that, and one thing I'll tell you is practice on a big white rock or a big pine tree or something, and put your binos on there and get everything lined up, and then pop it off and get your spotting scope and get the plate and get everything adjusted just right, so that when that moment of truth comes, when you find that big buck and now you're going to your spotting scope, that you're not 30 degrees off to the left and you can't end up finding it. And one more tip is, when you're looking through the binos and you find whatever it is you're looking for, I always like to identify something in my field of view,
Correct.
Either a stick, a rock, a tree, something that if for whatever reason I go and put the spotting scope on and I'm all hepped up because it's a big giant ram or it's a big bull or it's whatever,
that if for whatever reason, maybe something bedded down in the time that I took the binos off and I look through and I can't see it and I'm a little bit flustered, it's always nice before you pop your binos off to say it's just left of the white rock, or
Right.
it's just below the big pine tree limb. And so you have a point of reference there that you go, I know it's right there. And I can't tell you how many times that I've found a big buck, I've popped my binos off fast, gone with the spotting scope, and I'm a little bit flustered. Maybe I bump something, and I have to go back to the binos. But when you have that point of reference spot, man, it's helped me out a bunch where I can immediately get on it.
Jay, you saying this, it actually makes me laugh, because some of the best arguments and cut downs and insults that I've ever heard is when one person finds a deer and he's trying to describe it to somebody else where it is, and boy, do the instarts start flying. Well, what do you mean it's by the tree? There's 1,000 trees over there. Well, what do you mean it's by the rock? What rock? There's 1,400 rocks over there. It's just funny to hear guys banter over the whole deal. But I think the one thing that you said in there that is key to everything that we're talking about, it's practice. Yeah. Guys lose, they think, I'm going to go out and glass and just find stuff. And, but guys, if you really want to get good at something, and I don't really think of glassing that I got to go practice at it, because anything that I enjoy so much, I don't know if I'm really practicing at it. But the point I'm trying to make is that the more you do something, and the more you do something with a purpose, the better you'll become with it. So, Jay, if you practice and you pick that white rock, even if there's not a whole deer on the whole hillside, and you know that you're fairly new at this game, and you want to be really good at exchanging, your binoculars for your spotting scope, and making sure you're still looking at the field of view, practice at it. Do it a couple times a session, and I promise you, by the end of the season, you'll be way better at it than when you started, and then that'll carry over to the next season and next season. So.
Yeah, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And, another tip is try and have whatever you're looking at. If you're practicing on a white rock, if there's a elk standing there, try and have it in the center of your binocular. And then in your practice, have it where when you pop your spotting scope onto your tripod, that automatically everything is lined up. So there's a perfect synergy between your binos and your spotting scope, and that when you pop your spotting scope, it should be right in the center of your field of view. Well, sometimes if you practice with that setup, that it's never in the center. It's either just a little bit left or it's just a little bit right. But that's where going back and doing it, it's sometimes never going to be perfect. But you can know from practice that, okay, when I pop the spotting scope, it's always going to be a little bit on the left side, so I might have to make a slight adjustment right or slight adjustment left. But if you wait until the moment of truth, trust me, if it's a big enough buck, you're going to be floundering all over the place.
I also think, Jay, that this brings up a good question with regarding to your gear. If I had a nickel for every time somebody walked in the shop, and I don't care whether it's one of our plates, Frodo plate, I don't care if it's I don't care what plate is on the bottom of their spotting scope or on their binocular, if I can look at it with my own two eyes without even really closely inspecting it, and I can see that it's, and I'm going to try to make sure I use the right verbiage here, that the plate in the manner that it's mounted is not congruent with the tube, or it's not it's not
it's
parallel to. If it's all cockeyed and off to the left side, and you put your binocular up there, and then you throw your spotting scope and the plate's completely, at a 45-degree angle, I can promise you it's not going to be in the same deal. So what does that tell people? Guys, you just need to, tighten your screws and make sure that they're in line and lined up. You need to make sure you're any of the screws that just need a little tweaking, just do it. Every couple of weeks would probably be totally sufficient. But we have got. I mean, I kind of laugh. There's times of God, I can't get this to line up. Well, I know exactly why you can't get it to line up. Your plate on the bottom of your spotting scope's kicked off at a 20 or 15 degree angle.
Yeah, or
So,
it's loose and it swivels back and forth. You
absolutely.
you can't be efficient if your adaptation system is swiveling or moving in any way. Everything has to be perfectly tight. And
Jay, we've had guys ask us, hey, Cody, why is it so important that I can slide my spotting scope on and be in the same field of view? And I would just tell people that, and Jay, I've had the fortune of kind of being on, I don't know, about 12 years worth of elk hunts, and I can't think of how many other deals we've been on together. But you know what? When you're looking for something and you got a friend that's got a tag and time's of the essence, and you see a big old giant bull or a coos deer, and he's moving through the brush, and all you've got is about a 30-second window to make a transition and get a spotting scope on him and look at him real quick to see whether we're going to come back here in the morning and try to get that bull or not. Well, I mean, that 30 seconds may be all you got.
Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of what separates the men from the boys right there.
Well, no, I mean, those are things, people ask questions all the time about, well, how do you get things done? Well, I mean, you get things done because if you can't find them, you can't see them, and can't evaluate them, you can't, it's like having no information at all.
Yeah.
So I just think that's one of those things that people need to understand, that if you want to ask why certain guides or certain people or certain, I don't care if they're a guide or not, there's certain, private guys that are incredibly successful hunters. And why? It's because they're really anal retentive about, when they find something, they want to know what it is right now. And by having their gear all squared away and having the ability to be efficient like that or proficient, absolutely. That's why those guys are finding and killing big stuff.
For sure. Cody, it's been awesome having you on today. I want to thank you for your sponsorship and your support of my podcast, and I look forward to seeing you this year after my Utah elk hunt. I'll get down there to Arizona, and I'm going to be in the same unit down there, and look forward to seeing how you do and cheering you on, wishing you the best of success, and yeah, it's going to be fun.
Well,
elk season, deer season, the whole fall hunting season's about to kick off here. A lot of guys have already been Dall sheep hunting. Antelope hunts are going on right now, and deer season's opening in a few days. It's on, buddy.
Yeah, no, we're already getting successful stories back at the shop, and nothing could make me happier or more proud and to help out with some of that stuff. So, and Jay, as always, the sponsorship is good and whatever, but your friendship means more. And we have been. I laugh about it because I'm like, man, I get the platform to get up here and talk about what I love to do. So I just appreciate it very much.
All right, buddy. Sounds good. Well, God bless you, and I'll be seeing you soon, and hopefully it's with a big old elk rack in the back of my truck, and hopefully when I show up, you got one in the back of your truck too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate it, Jay. Good luck to you guys.